Man, I'm excited to have you back on Followed by Mercy. And I'm with Stephen Underwood again, my longtime friend. We've been talking about the Black Flag Initiative, if you recall. And we now have a very special guest with us. And so, Stephen, how about you introducing Alyssa to us?
Okay, this is Alyssa Deltorre, and she is the secretary of Black Flag Black Flag Innocence Foundation, which is our nonprofit that works to rescue victims of child sex trafficking. And she's a former Miss USA, and now she does conferences for women in business, and is just a marketing master and genius. And so we're honored to have her on the show today.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm excited to be here, and thank you, Austin, as well.
Well, we're glad to have you. Would you kind of tell us a little bit about the Miss America life?
Yes. So I competed back in 2018. I had never done a pageant before, and I basically applied all of my history of business strategy, marketing, and psychology, put that into a plan, and within 5.5 months, won the state title and the national title of Miss United States. And it was a world changing experience for me, opened a ton of doors, and going to airports and having people recognize me and want to take pictures with me was a very weird but exciting experience to have. And I've been able to speak on stages of 10,000 people and share my personal story and my platform, which was Heal Through Health, which was exposing all of the health remedies and modalities after trauma so that you can heal and live quality life.
Well, tell us just a little bit about your life right now, what you're doing outside of Black Flag, and then we'll jump right into the middle of Black Flag.
I have been a business consultant for the past decade, and I've worked with multi-million-dollar companies, public traded companies, on average increasing sales for these companies on a level of anywhere from 34 to 67%. So I go and I do full audits, work with the leadership, the psychology, mentality, and we take ourselves everywhere. So having the ability to go in, sit down with a founder, and through their language, how they're presenting their mindset and belief systems around business and themselves, I can very easily pick out where the traumas and blocks are in their mindset, break through that. And I joke that I'm two things, the come to Jesus coach, and all my clients cry because they have the breakthroughs. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't point out those things, and facing the truth can sometimes be very scary and very hard. And moving through that, they're then able to take the action, implement the systems, work with their team, which then they're the advocates and taking care of their clients. And that's when business really goes. Because at the end of the day, relationships are the most important thing. And it's the only thing we take with us when we go is the connections to other souls.
That's wonderful. All right, Stephen, I kind of want you to set Alyssa off here a little bit. You know the need for this project, and
Yes,
help her talk to me about helping you.
Well, if you look at the statistics, as we mentioned in the last segment, child sex trafficking is something that we think happens in other places around the world, in other countries. But there's staggering statistics that give us an idea that it's right here in our backyard. And it's something that's often overlooked because people don't want to believe that it could happen. But it's happening all the time here. Even here in Whitfield County, we've got major gang problem. You've got MS-13. You got Latin Kings. You got all these different gangs. And one of their main resources of their income and illegal activities is that of sex trafficking. The majority of your massage parlors, especially the ones that have a very generic name to them, most of the girls that are working in those massage parlors are brought in for the purpose of sex trafficking. And so it's happening right here. And nobody wants to believe that something that horrific can happen, but it's running rampant, and there's very few that are doing anything about it. The whole world right now here in the United States is in an uproar over the Epstein files, but I really think that it's more about the political leaders that were involved than it was the children. But we exist because we're focused on helping the victims and the children helping them get the resources that they need, seeing them pulled out of that, and then be able to heal from the trauma, as Alyssa just stated, and be able to live a halfway normal life.
Alyssa, what kind of hope? Challenge everybody listening, make them want to jump in on this project and make them realize that we can make a difference.
Absolutely. It's a $238 billion industry. Let that sink in. Like, that would be like a Fortune 500 company. And it spans to every country, every town, every city. And a lot of it is a lack of education, because the awareness and education to protect yourself as a youth and as a family and with your children and how they're going out about the world is the start. That's just the starting point as a prevention. If you're aware of tactics, tricks, and methods that these sex traffickers are using, you then can have a defense plan for you and your family. The next step is understanding the support and value of speaking up. So many times you run into a situation where, we try to push legislation through and all of a sudden we get blocked. And then we try to get to help them speak up and they're scared. And it's a numbers game. They have so many people involved in this. And the victims are also scared as well. So there's about 28 million, roughly, is the latest statistic, of people who are involved in being trafficked. And they're being threatened on a level that we can't even imagine. Coercion and trauma creates a loop in our brain, and the fear is very, very real. So, not shaming them, not having the questions of, well, why can't they just get out? Why can't they just speak up? Would you speak up if you have a bunch of people around you with guns and more money and more power than you that are threatening you, your family, your loved ones, or your future? Maybe they promise that you'll get out at some point. There's so many different things, or even money, right? They can use money as a way to incentivize people to stay around. And then they think, okay, well, then I'll be free. And it's a false sense of promise and reality, but the fear is very, very real. And if you have not been in that situation, you can't begin to comprehend the thoughts that go through their mind, the fear that's going through their entire body, and how that literally changes the way that their brain is functioning. It shuts down the prefrontal cortex. It releases cortisol. They're not functioning as a normal, healthy human being, right? So that's where everybody on the outside of it, it's not a one side, two side political issue. It's a human issue, and everybody should be able to get behind it. If you're not getting behind it, I have a side eye to you, a very strong one. And being able to speak up, fundraise, be loud about it. The louder we are, the more things are exposed. The more we do sting operations, the more these people are exposed. More support that we have on petitions and pushing legislation through for severe consequences, for having anybody who's been convicted, losing certain rights and abilities on a much greater scale than they currently are, is how we start to make that change. Then we need people in political office that are willing to be soldiers. This is not a nice to have or a talking point. People in political office have to have a soldier mentality, whether they've served in the military or not, because the rest of the world doesn't necessarily want to play in the way that we do here in the Western world. Freedom, rights, equality. And then to be able to speak on this topic, we're talking about taking $238 billion out of their hands. There is a strong incentive for them to try to shut us down. And that's where we have to come together as a community and have that support. We love connecting with other nonprofits, advocacies, and facilities that are supporting these victims and speaking up. This is not siloed or one nonprofit going to be taking over all the responsibility. We have to come together. It's very much inclusive.
I'd like to ask y'all, describe the person that's being trafficked. What's the average trafficked victim look like?
It's going to be somebody who doesn't have a strong father figure or a mentor around first. They are going to be dressed either a little disheveled, dirty, or promiscuous, because that is a signal to traffickers that they do not have strong parental figures in their life controlling that. I remember when I was young, even if I had a tank top that was, less than the 3 fingers on the shoulder, it was nope, get back inside and you change. That is not happening. Somebody who is distracted on their phone, alone, walking around, and it could be day or night. That part is not exclusive. So if they look lost, if they look sad and depressed, if they're partaking in extracurricular substance abuse, right? And this is where underage individuals getting into, whether it be clubs, malls. I used to work at Mall of America. I lived 15 minutes from there. It was the number one trafficked location in Minnesota. And
Wow.
it was youth that were walking around unsupervised on a 4-story mall. So it's not that you have to be going to clubs and bars or in back alleys around drug deals. To literally just be walking around as a little bit disheveled, seeing that there's no supervision. Like, parents have to be around. They have to be involved. That is the most common for what you see as a victim profile.
Boy or girl or equal?
Both.
And so I guess this is probably selfish because I'm a granddad, but is there a word we would say to parents from either one of you? I had a friend in Peru one time. They tried to kidnap his kid, and his kid was like 6 years old. They tried to kidnap him. So I always try to talk to parents and say, you got to be careful. You got to watch. Is that a fair statement here?
Absolutely. If you think you're a good parent, you could be better. You need to be actively involved. And we all hate the helicopter parents and feeling that as individuals. And I don't have kids, but my mom was even on me when I was younger, and that still didn't prevent some things from happening. Nobody gets out of this life scratch free, but parents, you need to be actively involved. Be that helicopter parent. Your job is not to make your kids your best friends or have them like you. Your job is to raise proper human beings that are safe and protected and feel loved. All the above. If you choose to have a child, you have the responsibility for the rest of your life to protect that individual and be there for them.
Well, I agree with that 100%. And I agree with that about grandkids too. For all you older people like me out there, we want to be careful and take care of our children. Now, today, Alyssa, what would you say to the people listening? We need to say to them, this is what we would like to ask you to do, because without them, we can't do our job, right?
Yes, I would say look up any resources online to educate yourself on the signs to watch out for from traffickers and how they're targeting and the tactics that they're using, and also the signs and signals for children as well. If your children are playing video games, if they have a phone, they are at risk for being targeted, for being sex trafficked. Educate yourself first and then get involved on some way, shape, or form, whether that's joining an email list, paying attention to nonprofits that are local to you or ones that you resonate with, getting involved in the politics that are going around locally. They hold public meetings on laws and what's going on in your city. They're free to attend. They post it publicly. You need to actively get involved. We do have the power to make change.
Yeah, we do.
And again, it's a numbers game. Start a petition, do the hard work, right? If we want to take control of this situation, of your family. If you want true freedom is radical accountability and radical responsibility. Freedom is hard. Freedom is heavy. It's a lot of work. It is the essence of you eat what you kill. We want a free society. You have to do the work. That means showing up at schools, showing up and monitoring your children online, showing up to the local committee meetings, voting. And I know people have a mentality around voting that it doesn't work and it doesn't count. But that being said, if you find that, expose that. If you find corruption, expose it. Right? I know there's risk to it, but if you do not, that the greater risk is if you don't do anything, we all become slaves.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go back to something you said earlier. You mentioned 28 million, if I'm not mistaken. Did one of y'all say 28 million? You know, that is almost 3 states of Georgia. I think those of you listening, you know, big numbers, they kind of go over our head. We don't catch them. 28 million. That's the entire state of Georgia only has like 10 million.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people being mistreated. Go ahead.
Yeah. And they can still be living at home with their parents. It's not that they're being taken, kidnapped, and in houses or underground bunkers, which that happens as well. But I have met victims here. I'm located in South Florida. I've met victims that they were living at home. I've met victims that it was their parents that signed up as a financial incentive to traffic their children. So it may not just be your own children, but your neighbors. Pay attention what's going on. It takes a community. This individual mindset of the Western world, I have a problem with because it takes a community. I didn't win Miss United States for me doing it all on my own. I had 17 different sponsors. For me to win that as an individual, I had a community around me. For you to do anything significant, it takes a community. Raising a child, protecting that child is significant, and it takes a community.
That's good. Stephen, you've been awful quiet. Would you like to jump in real quick?
Well, you'd ask about what people can do to be involved. One of the greatest needs, unfortunately, is that of finances. And I like to tell people it's time to put your money where your mouth is. We say that we care about victims. We say we care about children. How much are we willing to sacrifice? Can we go without a Starbucks coffee once a week to help rescue these children from the reality of child sex trafficking?
I don't know about a whole cup of coffee. Wow.
Well, in today's market, absolutely. But, it takes money to be able to operate and do what we do, from not only the resources that we use for the investigation portion and surveillance, but also partnering with local law enforcement to where we can see the mission accomplished. We have to be able to have the time and energy to communicate with them and partner with them. And so that's time out of the work schedule that we have, that we're volunteering ourselves. And so with any nonprofit, we say it's nonprofit, but it still takes profit in order to maintain.
Okay, you open the door for it. What do you do?
Alyssa?
Yeah. So we've worked on the legislation, education, and the operations side. So for legislation, we're trying to get coverage and authority and protection for our guys. We work with all ex-military that are doing our operations so that when they work alongside local authorities such as police, FBI, CIA, that should anything happen that's like unfriendly fire or an accident, that they are protected under the same coverage. Also increasing penalty laws and the way that we prosecute these offenders. Education as far as parents, digital footprint, children, local communities. We love speaking to these places. And also, we're building out a library of resources that they will be able to download from our website. So that'll be coming soon. And then on the operations side, we have a team of guys that are actively seeking out and trapping these pedophiles that knowingly are planning and coercing what they think to be underage individuals to have sex with them. We come in with local authorities and we catch them, get all the evidence that we need, and get them convicted.
You want to add anything, Stephen?
Yeah, I would challenge every listener to just take a few minutes. And if they just watch the first 30 seconds of the movie Sound of Freedom, it will open their eyes to the reality of what child sex trafficking looks like. It's not just children being snatched off the street in cargo vans, but it's that grooming process. It's the Snapchat, it's the Facebook, it's the Instagram, where these predators are reaching out to these children who are at risk, who are vulnerable, and grooming them to where they can sink their claws into them. And so we're trying to prevent, from the very first stages, we're trying to prevent and catch these guys who are in that grooming process and build a case against them to where a DA can do nothing but prosecute. You'd be surprised at how many liberal DAs exist that don't want to have that fight. How many local sheriffs do not want to acknowledge the reality of it because it makes the crime statistics look worse. But if we're going to safeguard, if we're going to stay vigilant, then we have to bring it to light.
Yeah.
I think that most of us don't agree with you because we don't see it.
Right.
I mean, I think we're blind. I think you both are seeing what as a grandfather, 71 years old, I don't always see that. I don't know about, I mean, except for watching a movie, I don't know much about it. So we need to raise awareness. So y'all go ahead, whatever you want to say here.
Yeah, I would like to add on to what Stephen just said. These pedophiles who are targeting these children to meet up with them, on average, in their lifetime, they'll violate about 70 children. 70.
Wow.
That's 2 classrooms of children.
Wow.
Correct.
I would have no idea this is even happening in our country. So what do we do to make people out there see this?
I would say,
Yes.
yeah. I would also say, take an interest in your child's personal life, engage with them, talk to them about what they're dealing with, talk to them about their friends. My oldest son is on all of the different social media platforms. And I know that there's been 2 different occasions where I've literally I've had to take his phone away from him to review what it is that he's talking about with his friends. And even at 16, 17 years old, the types of conversations that teenagers are having today, I didn't even think about until I was well into my 20s. And it's younger and younger. My middle son has already been exposed to talks of sex in the school and asking me, what does this mean? He's 12 years old.
It's ridiculous.
It is. And so take an investment, take an interest in your child's life and start having those difficult discussions with them.
Yeah, and I would like to add on to that. I know this is a very overwhelming topic and it feels so big, especially with the whole controversy with the Epstein files and people realizing how big it really is and how it goes all the way to the top levels of so many companies and so many governments, that when we're talking about, like you said, the 28 million is 3 Georgias. If we had even 1 Georgia of people that are donating $1 per month, that's 10 million right there. The amount of damage that we can do with 10 million for only $1 a month from all of these individuals, again, as community, the power is in the numbers, the power is in community. And I fully believe that there is more good than bad. People become bad from trauma and corruption and a lack of love. And if we can come together and sacrifice even $1 a month, $12 a year, that's a Starbucks coffee, right?
Yeah.
That allows the people who are willing to go into the trenches, that are willing to put their reputations and their lives on the line and stand up in front and be the front line in politics and speaking out in all these different manners, let them go do that. But they can't do that without you. And you donating that dollar helps them tremendously. So don't think that $1 is too small. It is so much, and it all adds up.
Well, I have really learned a lot. I don't know that I want to say I've enjoyed this time with y'all. I don't think I ever knew that 28 million people. I don't think I ever knew that an entire country or a big company, that much money is being made on this. I do want everybody listening to know that God follows us with mercy. That's the whole point of the program here. And even this little operation, Black Flag Initiative and Black Flag Innocence Project, all of that is God showing mercy to help people. God touching Stephen and Alyssa to take his love and help these children. So I will give you two just one last time before we close. And I would ask one question, and then y'all can talk about anything you want as we close today's broadcast. But if we see one of those children that looks disheveled or dirty or alone, what do we do? I don't know. I don't know if there is anything we can do. So y'all tell me what to do.
Absolutely. I would recommend going up to them, asking them how they are, if they have everything they need, if they have community, if they have mentorships, and help them find local programs, whether it's after school, different mentorship communities. They're available, right? And they might say, my parents don't care. I'm on my own. I'm raising myself. Then how can I help find a place to plug them in? So yes, it might be some research that you have to do into your local community because it has to be close to their home. Otherwise, they're not going to get it. And there's also communities online, but being in person is 10 times more impactful and valuable.
Right.
And keeping their hands busy in positive things, get them involved in other nonprofits, whether it's learning how to grow gardens or learning how to code, give them skills, give them a place, an outlet to learn skills that'll better their lives and that they can be safe. So that would be my recommendation on that level. And I just want to touch on, being a Christian, keep in mind, everyone, that in the end, we win. In the end, God wins. In the end, good wins. You're on the right fight. So come on, step up, be ready. We're here.
All right. You want to say something, Stephen, as we close today?
Yeah, just springboarding off of what Alyssa said, the Bible tells us that if a man knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. And so we think that, well, that's not my fight, that's not my responsibility. But the reality is that now you're aware of the problem. If you choose to sit there and ignore it, it's sin. We exist to be guardians of the innocent. We exist to help these victims. We exist to see them rescued from that torment. And it really is a torment. I can't imagine living my entire life in torment and then living an entire eternity in torment. So because we are a Christian organization, as we stated in the last episode, we're not just interested in helping them have a better life in this lifetime, but to hear the gospel and have an opportunity to accept Christ as their Savior so that they can live an eternity in heaven.
Well, I am so thankful for both of you being here today, and I am very grateful for what you're doing, and I want to be a part and help. And I thank you very much. And for all of you listening on YouTube and on the podcast, you'll be able to find links to what they're talking about. And so we want to help you get involved because you make the difference. They're here to help you, but it's people like us that don't know what's going on that are going to help them do what they feel like God's called them to do. So I challenge you to get involved in that. Thank y'all very much for being with us today. And I pray that God will bless you and all y'all are doing. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Austin.